Inner work is one of those things that gets thrown around a lot in the world of personal development, within the spiritual world. And it's something that like everyone knows about, that we should be doing, but at the same time, no one actually really knows what it means or what it is or how you do it. So that's why I'm making this video today, is just to clear up a little bit of that ambiguity about what inner work is and just make it more like tangible and digestible so that you have a better idea of how we can actually do this, how it can actually help us. Instead of just being some vague concept that, maybe we're doing it a little bit, maybe it's helping to some degree, but we don't really see its application in our lives. We don't really know if it's working. So the way that I think about it is that inner work is really, it's the process of discarding qualities or traits or characteristics or trauma or negativity or dense energy or anything that no longer serves you, while adopting better traits and characteristics and things that align with the person that you are wanting to become. But we don't really know how to actually become that person. We know that it's a long process. We know that it takes time to become like the best version of ourselves or to step more into our higher selves. But for most of us, that road is pretty foggy. And we might find ourselves going in circles and circles and circles. We keep running into the same issues and the same problems and the same circumstances. And the same shit keeps happening in our lives because for some reason we haven't outgrown that certain problem. We haven't developed our capabilities to become the person who can deal with that problem more efficiently. So this is really what inner work is. It's that bridge. That bridges us from the person we are now into the person that we want to be in the future. So it's the ability that we cultivate to continuously look into ourselves, into our reactions, into our emotions, into who we are, into our behaviors, into our attitudes, and figure out why we are the people that we are today. Where are we actually falling behind? Where do we want to be further ahead than we are right now? And what do we actually need to do to develop like these parts of us or these characteristics or these traits to become the person that we want to be? It's not easy to challenge ourselves and to actually look inwards and to use anything that happens in the world or in our life experiences as a mirror. And that's really what it comes down to. It's using everything that happens to you as a mirror. So instead of projecting and instead of externalizing what is happening in your life or your emotions or your beliefs or whatever it is, anything that sort of is negative and sucky in your life, you use it as a way to reflect on your own experiences. So let me give you an example. Sometimes I have this thing where I'll get a little bit triggered and I'll feel jealous or I'll feel some sort of dense energy, uncomfortable energy. When I see people who seem to be just cruising through life, not really working hard, but they seem to have a lot of money, they seem to be doing really well for themselves, they seem to be happy. Because there's that part of me that I guess feels neglected. Or there's a part of me that feels like, hey, this is unfair. Why is it so easy for them? But life, a big part of life has been very difficult for me. But the thing is that if I just keep externalizing this feeling and I feel jealous to someone and I'm like, fuck that person, they suck, I'm just gonna feel angry at them or feel resentful at them until it passes, then get back on with my life. You know what's going to happen? The same thing is going to keep occurring. That same issue, that same trigger will continuously replay itself. Every time I see that same situation or I'm in that same situation with that same trigger, I'm going to feel this dense energy again. First and foremost, it's really the mentality of wanting to look into why you are the way that you are and why you still have these problems that you are dealing with. Because if you don't critically look at yourself and you don't recognize when you are being triggered or when something is happening that is evoking some sort of negative energy, or negative reaction, if you defer blame and you say, it's this person's fault. This person triggered me, that's why I reacted this way. Or this situation happened, that's why I felt this way. If you keep externalizing it without bringing it back to yourself and using that as a mirror to look at why you actually experienced that, why did I feel this way, why did I get triggered by this certain event, then it's just going to keep happening. And this is what you need to understand, is that if you don't look into your patterns and programs and why you are the person that you are, why you have these dysfunctions, why you have these problems, why you get triggered in these ways, then you are never actually going to get to the root cause. You are not going to heal these problems. And I know it's difficult because for most of us, the ego is a big barrier. So we don't want to be challenged. We don't want to look in because it's easier to say the problem is with them, I'm in the clear, it's not my fault, and I can feel good about myself. I've got a clean conscience. It's easier to defer a problem and to sort of push it off to the side so we don't need to deal with it than to actually just sit with those emotions or those sensations that come up. But that really is the key to inner work. It's sitting with the experiences that come up and allowing ourselves to reflect on them, to introspect, and to just process them. Because I think processing is something that we don't take seriously enough. We don't process our experiences enough, and we don't look in without deferring. The key is reflection and constantly just reflecting on our experiences. Constantly just going inwards whenever something triggers us, whenever we feel a certain emotion. Whenever something comes up that just makes us feel like shit, whatever it is. Or we're having negative thoughts about something. You say, maybe I'm a piece of shit. My life is falling apart. And I should be doing better. It's like, instead of finding the Band-Aid, don't find the Band-Aid. Sit with it. Sit with these experiences that you are having. That's really what it is. It's not rocket science. This is inner work. From being aware of what experience you are having and sitting with it without judgment and feeling everything that needs to be felt, that is when you start getting insights and you start learning and you start actively processing and working through these knots energetically that you have. It's like massaging it a little bit. It might not come out in one go, but if this happens 100 times and you use it as 100 opportunities to sit with that pain, to sit with that emotion, to work through these energetic knots, and to just try to aim to learn from it. Why am I experiencing this? Why am I feeling this way? Then you will find that over time, it might take some years, but you will realize that, I'm not really having these same triggers anymore. You might find yourself in the same circumstances, but there's no emotional reaction. You don't feel angry, you don't feel resentful, you don't feel jealous or guilty or shame. You're neutral. And you are just observing the experience for what it is. And you don't feel anything negative from it. You're just like, that's interesting. I used to feel a certain way from this, but now I don't anymore. And it's genuine. If something happens, I say, how am I the problem here? And it doesn't degrade my self-worth because I don't see it in a way that I'm beating myself up for it. I'm not beating myself up for it. I'm not degrading myself for it. I'm just pointing the finger back to myself and saying, okay, what did I do that wasn't perfect in this situation? How did I respond in a way that wasn't in alignment with who I want to be? How could I do better in this same sort of situation next time? So that's really what it is. It's disarming our natural defenses, because as long as those defenses stay up and we don't acknowledge them, we don't acknowledge that there's some sort of issue here, then we are never going to actually see it. We're never going to look inwards, because it does require some courage. It does require us to lower our defenses. It does require us to feel vulnerable to go inwards and to look into, where am I dysfunctional? What is going wrong with me? Why am I this way? Why do I keep having these reoccurring patterns in my life? And it's the simple act of continuously fine-tuning yourself. Again, you're not trying to be perfect. That's not the point of this. No one is perfect. I'm not perfect, you are not perfect. But if anything evokes this reaction, you do want to also assess where you're going wrong, or what parts of you are defensive, or where you are out of alignment with this vision of yourself that you want to be. If you really drill that mentality in, then naturally you will look for ways to improve yourself. You will look for ways, or you will look at when you are angry, you will identify it. How can you not when this mentality is so thoroughly drilled into your consciousness? Because your awareness becomes like a spotlight and you start seeing all the different parts of you. Even when you act out of calibration, even when your lower self comes out, or maybe you do something that was immature or stupid, or you reacted a certain way which you know wasn't good, it's okay. That's normal. It's going to take time for us to get there. But that awareness is so important. You are on the right track and you are growing bit by bit. It takes time. You might not notice big differences straight away, but again, count it in years. Where will I be in 5 years? Where will I be in 10 years? I don't want to sound like this is a job interview right now, but that's really the way that you need to perceive it. Where will you be in the future if you just keep chipping away at it and treat it like a continuous process, part of your lifestyle? This is what inner work should be. It's not necessarily something that you do, it's just a part of your lifestyle. By thinking, how can I improve on this? Whenever something goes wrong in your life, regardless what it is, how could I have improved? What could I have done better? How could I have done it better? And why am I feeling these ways? It's really asking why. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I doing things like this? Why am I this way? Why am I this way? Why am I who I am today? It's transparency. If you allow yourself to be completely transparent with who you are, with your emotions, then you can actually see what needs to be worked on, what traits and characteristics you don't like about yourself, what things are in there emotionally, mentally, that you want to discard, that you need to work through. So just having that sense of transparency with yourself will do you wonders in the long run. I hope this video has cleared up any ambiguity about what inner work is and how it can be done, just by treating it as an everyday practice, something that you chip away at in everyday moments as well. Not something that you dedicate an hour to every day, but just something that you do whenever certain emotions and experiences come up. By reflecting, by introspecting, by processing, and using the world as a mirror to identify the areas where you are not quite there yet, but that you need to improve on.